Today in history. Today, it's May 7th, and our journey to the past will continue.
We have a couple of events to share with our listeners today, and we'll get to those in just a moment. But first, here is my quiz question. One of Latin America's most prominent female figures whose life was immortalized on a famous Broadway musical was, number one, Jennifer Lopez, or number two, Evita Peron. Okay, the question one more time. One of Latin America's most prominent female figures whose life was immortalized in a famous Broadway musical was, number one, Jennifer Lopez, number two, Evita Peron. If you know the answer, please put it on our Bundy board, or you could text it in on your cell phone, pounder sharp 1045 for 51, to win a Muson mouse, a wireless mouse.
Oh, yes, very tempting. Okay, here's the short list of those two items to be discussed.
Today in history. In 1664, the Palace of Versailles was inaugurated, and in 1919, Evita Peron was born.
Okay, shall we all go back to the 17th century when one of the most beautiful and largest palaces in the world was inaugurated?
Yes, it was on this day in 1664 when Louis XIV commenced a 6-day campaign to celebrate the first expansion of the Palace of Versailles in France.
Also known as simply Versailles. 자, 베르사유 궁전 말씀드리고 있는데요. The palace became not only an icon of France for its architectural value, but also a symbol of France's former absolute monarchy.
Yeah, a picture of it there on Point in Radio looks really nice, right?
네.
Kind of looks like Washington, D.C. a little bit.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
right?
This huge, is it lake?
The park.
Pond.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Very nice indeed. Well, located 20 kilometers southwest of the French capital, Versailles' history dates back to centuries prior. It had housed kings at the time and queens as well. And in fact, the first historical records of the compound were documented in 1038. Way, way back.
Way back. Versailles was originally a hunting lodge. 원래가 이 어마어마한 궁이 옛날엔 사냥을 위해서 사람들이 묵었던 그런 오두막이었다고 하는군요. Well, one that was frequented by Louis XIII, the expansion of buildings and the decision of making Versailles the center of the French crown, which happened on May 6, 1671. It was made by Louis XIV.
Now, Versailles is not short of downfalls. After the French Revolution, the contents of the palace were auctioned, and by the late 1700s, the palace was turned into a museum, while its mirrors were sold to pay government, and the draperies and upholsteries were sent to the mint to extract the gold and silver in them.
My goodness. Well, in case you wonder how many valuables were in the palace, that even government debt were paid through its mirrors, well, the answer is simply a lot.
Right. Now,
Staggeringly.
a staggering amount, I'm sure. One of the most astonishing aspects of Versailles is how much it costs. For instance, more than a ton of silver was used to build furniture. You can see the picture on Point in Radio right now. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? But this is just an estimate, and likewise, the total cost of the palace would probably never be known. They don't know how much it costs.
그야말로 priceless네요. 그렇죠? Okay, now from the royal gardens of Versailles, we move on to another important type of court, this time in South America, when a female figure whose charms and work as a leader gained her a reputation comparable to that of a queen.
Right, Eva Peron, right? Better known as Evita, who was born on this day in 1919.
네, 1919년 바로 오늘입니다. 5월 7일이 에바 페론의 생일이기도 합니다. Well, of course, her life and name were immortalized through the Broadway production Evita, which eventually led to a film adaptation.
That was Madonna, right? I don't think I've ever seen that movie. but I heard that she was quite good
Oh, yes.
in it. Yeah. Well, maybe Evita couldn't have wished for anything more, as she was an entertainer before becoming a political figure. When she was 15 years old, she moved to Buenos Aires to work on the stage, radio, and film.
Evita gained enormous popularity during her time as the first lady of the country. But probably it was upon her death when her fame and legendary status were known to the world.
She was given a state funeral and a full Roman Catholic requiem mass, a procedure reserved only for heads of state. All activities in Argentina ceased. Movies stopped playing, restaurants were closed, and patrons were shown to the door.
Well, the government suspended all official activities for 2 days and ordered all flags flown at half-mast for 10 days.
Yes, Evita indeed was more than just a political figure. She became a whole culture of her own, even when a city with a city named after her, Ciudad de Vita.
아, 그렇군요. 이제 도시 이름까지 그 에바 페론의 이름을 따서 지을 정도로 자, 많이들 그녀를 기렸습니다.
I really should go watch that movie because I think, musically it would be great, but I think it would be great to learn the story of her as well.
Very tumultuous life she had there. Okay, so before we wrap up, let's check out today's quiz question.
Yeah, the answer, let's see. The question was, Latin America's most prominent female figures whose life was immortalized in a famous Broadway musical. Number 1, Jennifer Lopez. Well, maybe in the future, but not yet. The answer number 2, Eva Peron, or Evita Peron.
Okay, that's all we have for today in history, but our journey to the past will continue tomorrow.
That's right, and we will return to the topic of bread in just a moment. Matthew joins us for Matthew's Kitchen. Here's Madonna, Don't Cry for Me, Argentina.